platforms are distribution platforms. Treat them like distribution platforms. You still need to, own your customer, own your product, own your service. If I am getting more reviews per month than you are, I will always have unfair advantage over you because I will keep going away and away and away. Like momentum will carry me away. Excess inventory can kill a D2C digital brand really quickly before you realize. 10 यूनिट बना लो और अपने फ्रेंड्स एंड फैमिली को भेज दो. उसके बाद 100 यूनिट बनाओ और अपने एग्जिस्टिंग कस्टमर को भेजो. Like those two hurdles will kill 50% of your mistakes. Don't get too married with your product to say यार बन गया अब तो मैं 2 लाख यूनिट बेच दूँगा. It doesn't work like that in real life. India is such a complex country that every customer cohort is different. People in urban versus tier 1 versus tier 2 will buy differently. People across economic classes will buy differently. Part of being lucky is to get onto a business where there is tremendous macro push. And I think we got lucky.
Building a 500 crore D2C consumer appliances brand for Bharat. Hi everyone, welcome to this super exciting episode of the ACLR8 Founder Academy. Our goal at ACLR8 is to build one of the finest early stage accelerator programs in the world that helps founders from Bharat build large, generational and iconic companies. Today's episode features the co-founder of Lifelong Online, Bharat Kalia. Started in 2015, Lifelong is truly one of the most disruptive D2C brands in the country. Revenues of upwards of 500 crore, product reaching out to 1 crore plus households, setting up a massive service and installation network across the country, innovating and launching new categories, and doing all of this with a profitability mindset from day one. It's truly an incredible feat. Bharat, we are so excited to have you as a part of the Founder Academy. I'm sure thousands of D2C brands will have a lot to learn from the Lifelong playbook. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Karan, for the kind intro, and super happy to be here. Congratulations on starting Accelerate. It's a fantastic initiative, much needed in the country. So very happy to contribute to wherever I can.
Amazing. And I'm personally, so excited about this chat, right? Because I was a D2C founder myself, right? I speak to so many founders on a day-to-day basis, right? And I mean, just like the playbook that Lifelong has built in terms of, innovating new products, launching new categories, understanding the Bharat consumer so well, right? Like scaling so much on marketplaces, right? Like pricing the product correctly, like there's so much to learn, right? For every founder, so like very, very excited, about the show.
Happy to be here. Excited to do this with you.
Great. So Bharat, I would love to, start with your personal journey. Like would love to know a little bit about you, your family background, right? Like what were you doing before Lifelong and what was the key trigger that kind of, led you to start the company?
So if I go all the way back, happy childhood. I think I have to give credit to my parents. Both my sister and I were well educated. I did what...
Where did you grow up?
Delhi. I grew up in Delhi. I did what majority of my generation at that point did in engineering, did an MBA. Then actually I got a lucky break. I got through to Bain. It was way above my education pedigree at that point. That's actually where I started working hard. Maybe a little bit in fear. मुझे लगा था ये नहीं छोड़ सकता मैं अब ये मिल गई job तो ये रखनी है. So I was there for 5 years. It was a fantastic experience. I learned a ton, made fantastic friends. That's made a great network there. And by the time I was 4.5 years in, in hindsight, there was a need to do something. But I think very early on, even when I started working through engineering and MBA, कुछ तो था कि मतलब खुद ही करना है business. I think I had seen some examples in my life of people who had created companies that inspired me. I think thankfully with the education background, with the job at Bain, there was some security in the head कि नहीं भी चलेगा तो यार वापस चले जाएंगे.
Right.
So this was the third business plan that we wrote.
Oh wow.
And we are 3 co-founders, and interestingly, very unusually, we are also all 3 related. My 2 co-founders, Varun's my cousin and Atul's my mama.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's a very unique story, and like all businesses have the unique stories. We were also related, which turned out to be a fantastic strength that we had eventually, and it's contributed in very unique ways as we've grown the business.
Right.
So that was the backstory. 3-4 years in, I quit one day to say that अब करके देखते हैं and let's see what's happening. And Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, all of this was coming up in the country. D2C wasn't.
What year?
This is middle of 2015.
Got it.
And D2C wasn't really a thing then, right?
Yeah.
The buzzwords came much later. There was Casper and all in the US, but what we saw was that there was a more efficient way to reach the customer digitally. And like purely on that, Atul had some, historic background on manufacturing appliances and said, "Okay, he understood the product well. Could we go and understand how to reach the customer directly?" And that was just, there were enough ingredients there to go start something. And we got started, and I think very early on, 2016 is when we sold our first product. Interestingly, day one we sold something, we all got excited. Baad mein pata chala it was Varun's wife who had bought it. So our first customer was fake. Yeah. But after that, I think it's been a good, interesting
Or maybe
journey.
It got manifested, right? Like, I mean, she was the first customer. That's why you built such a large business. She should take the credit.
For sure. So, and it's been a great journey after that.
Great. I think you make it sound so simple, right? Like, I mean, I think we're in the Indian startup ecosystem. Sometimes I feel that we're all to blame, where we talk about starting up as a very, very big thing, as a very difficult thing. We really build it up, right? Like finding a team, finding co-founders, raising money, finding product market fit. We use a lot of these fancy terms, right? But what are your views? Like if somebody is looking at starting up, is an early stage founder, right? Like what would be, and if they're just thinking about it, they're on the edge, like what would you say to them?
So, from a macro perspective, we all know the story, right? We know India is a great place to be. We know that this is the best time to start.
Yeah.
From a more tactical micro, when it comes to really resigning and quitting your job and doing it, I think I don't know for good reason or no, but we've glorified that a little bit right now. I think India is a great place to start a business right now. If you get your hands dirty, if you work hard, if you find a decent product market fit, if you are smart enough, agile enough to maneuver your way through getting to a better product market fit, I think there is business to be built in India in so many spaces. And, not going through there is no standard checklist. There is no finding the right co-founder. There is no finding the best market. There is no finding the right time. You have to get these decisions right.
Yeah.
But most decisions are two-way doors. And rather than obsessing over every single decision to get it perfect, I think just doing it, making mistakes, being honest enough that things will go wrong, and getting your hands dirty is, I feel, the easiest, fastest way to build a business. And I think that's what we've done. I think we would have failed far more than we would have succeeded.
Wow.
Eventually, you need a ton of luck.
Correct.
And that's also funny. Our version of luck is you continue to work hard. You continue to take decisions.
Yeah.
You have to continue to move forward.
Yeah.
Don't obsess over small, even largest decisions, right? And have the humility, have the honesty to say, yaar, ye nahi chala, isko reverse karte hain, ab dobara ek aur cheez try karte hain. And as long as you do that, I think most people will find their way around.
I think very interesting. And like what I liked about what you said is that I mean, nobody can have a perfect business idea or perfect plan on day one, right? Like you get your hands dirty, you make your own mistakes, you keep executing, you take your decisions. Maybe out of 100, 90 would fail, but those 10 would succeed. You learn from them, you look back, and then you like execute again, right? Like, so I think it's all about executing. I mean, being consistent, and getting your hands dirty.
Showing up every day, doing the not so glamorous bits every day, consistently. Like business is built over a long period of time. Nothing is going to happen in one day. Aaj product market fit mil jayega, right? It's a process of getting there.
Correct.
And as long as you continue to push it through, I think you'll get there.
Amazing. I think coming to lifelong, right? Like, so you mentioned that obviously, Atul, like he had a manufacturing background in the consumer appliances space, right? But was that the only reason to start in the consumer appliances space? Like you worked at Bain, like, I mean, you're a very analytical guy, right? So, or were there, like certain things you looked at in terms of, why did you decide to choose consumer appliances as a category? And then also within consumer appliances, right? Like home and kitchen, health and fitness, now sports, like, and you're continuously evolving categories, right? So like, how do you make that decision? Like, how do you choose certain categories to build in?
So I'll tell you how we made the first decision, and I'll tell you how we make the decision today. And it's far more scientific now than it was then. Like I said initially, you have to jump in and try. You have to find your wedge, some advantage in the marketplace. Atul having a background in appliances obviously helped. Appliances were also very legacy. The products that we were using in our homes were the same that my parents were using. And I've said this before that kuch nahi hua tha us category mein, right? So it was easier to disrupt on product. Distribution was expensive. It was easier to disrupt on distribution. And like I said, was it the best category to start with? Maybe, maybe not, who knows, right? But we started there, we saw some success, and then we very quickly created a very scientific way to pick categories after that. And that was important to get started, see what works, what doesn't, and then find the right category. And like you said, sports, healthcare have been our much bigger businesses now. We chose them far more scientifically than when we started initially.
Yeah.
And now, we look at, it's fairly data driven. We look at a lot of search trends. We look at a lot of conversion data to figure के New India क्या देख रही है, कहाँ convert करी है जहाँ अच्छा product available नहीं है, and is there enough leverage in those categories where we can come in and differentiate with a product. And if we find such spaces, that's where we do our product development work and try and cater to the customer. And this is both data and understanding, right? The data will show you the spikes, but you have to go in, talk to customers and understand के reality है कि नहीं है, last करेगी कि नहीं करेगी, is it a COVID spike or no, is it a unnatural, कुछ viral जा रहा है country में, वो spike है कि नहीं. But if you see that it's on the back of a tailwind where customer preferences are changing, maybe India's getting healthier, for example. And so if it's on the back of a tailwind, then those are categories that we love, and it should always have a preferable margin stack, and all of those analytical things need to go in, but it needs to be backed by a strong tailwind. Another thing I believe, back to my first answer on business, is that tailwind important in business mein. Like you have to ride, you can't really make a large business with tons of headwinds. So part of being lucky is to get onto a business where there is tremendous macro push. And I think we got lucky. While there was no D2C back then in 2015, 2016, the Geo happened. Nobody predicted that.
Internet penetration.
COVID happened. Nobody predicted that from a business front. So things have pushed us in the right direction, which has helped.
So I think if you would look at the scientific approach that you follow now, right? So you would look at search trends. Then you mentioned something on conversion trends. I would love for you to elaborate it, for just like an early stage founder, like what would that mean, right? Then you also mentioned, is there enough leverage, right? So what does that really mean? Like, does it mean that you look at, does it mean that it's a large industry, but has lots of, let's say, pools of dissatisfaction between consumers, right? And then there is, obviously like tailwinds in the market, like for example, why health and wellness today? Because maybe like India is going healthier, right? Like why D2C back then? Because, like internet penetration improved, right? So like would love for you to elaborate on it a little bit more. Like if there's like examples of some tools or some platforms that you use that early stage founders can use, that will be like amazing.
Right. So a lot of the search and conversion trends are from the horizontal platforms and Google. Search is simple. Search spikes. You keep a close eye on various trends on search spikes. You'll know broadly where the pulse of the customer is, and you cut that all sorts of ways. You cut that by geography, you cut that by age group, and you'll figure what your actual TG and where your brand is positioned, what those guys are searching for. Conversion is more interesting because at the end of the day, you need to sell. And if people are converting to products that are not fantastically rated, if people are, not converting to products that they're searching for, there is obviously a gap. And now you can use enough data science to figure, and this could be as large as new categories and as small as, let's use a random example, right? There is no red color phone available. There is, but I'm just using a random example. And anywhere you see a gap which is large enough, and you have leverage, and when I say where you have leverages, you should have some disproportionate reason to win in that category. Either you have a target audience on your brand that will buy you because you're lifelong.
So you can cross sell.
Correct. Or you have manufacturing capabilities that give you unfair advantage over your competition. third, which we do a lot, is does it fit your supply chain, right? If I already have a supply chain where I can easily be the lowest cost player in that market, then that's a leverage right there, right? If you were the lowest cost market, your lowest cost product or player in that market, then there is tremendous leverage. And so you have to develop some pockets of expertise, which then become leverage in, going into new categories. And we as Lifelong are fairly clear. We have a supply chain that caters to a certain set of categories. We don't do anything fashion. We don't do anything consumable. We don't do anything which has an expiry date on it. We are very clear on the supply chain we've built. We are very clear on what we can do and what we can't do now. And any new trend or category we see needs to fit the box where we see majority success. And that's what we do.
Amazing. And when you mention conversion data, like how do you look at that? Like, is it like, for example, you'll go on horizontal platforms, you look at how many people bought this product in the last 1 month, like you use platforms like those?
Correct. And so a lot of this data is available on the horizontal platforms. It's how you utilize it. Like I said, what we try and see is that for a certain number of search, how many people are converting to finding what they were looking for, and if they're buying what they were looking for, are they converting to good rated products? And like those two are the major gap drivers too. And then another thing that we do, and I encourage a lot of D2C brands to do, is validate that. And how the easier digital way to validate is scrape through every rating, review, OLX comment you can find.
Wow.
Now there are APIs.
That is gold.
Now there are APIs. You can, scrape through a lot of review data using APIs, but like APIs are still, you'll get there when you have certain scale, but scraping data is easy, right? You can write a simple script, scrape everything off, and the amount of data analytics power that is available today, which I didn't know of back in 2015-16, is available today. You'll get such solid insights from reading through or scraping through, let's say, 2 lakh reviews, and then that validates your hypothesis on the product. Like I said, could be a new color to a new subcategory, could be anywhere in between.
And then maybe for that gap, if you got some 4-5 insights, you actually go and talk to a consumer as well, and maybe 10 consumers, 15 consumers, and understand, like, is there really like a problem that needs to be solved for?
Very important, Karan. Data is very important, but the real insights eventually come from product users. And what we've made mistakes and learned is that rather than having a bigger data set, we were consultants before this, so that was the easy go-to. But now we've realized that you get to 10, 15 real everyday users of that product, go spend time with them, not just a phone call, go visit their homes, see their use cases, go deeper on how they use the product, what their real issues is, and in more cases than not, you'll be able to figure ke tum crack kar sakte ho or nahi kar sakte at that point.
Interesting. You also mentioned something about the margin metrics and all, right? Like for example, when you look at consumer appliances as a category, AOVs are higher, right? And then, like, when I used to run a D2C brand, like the holy trinity for us was good AOV, great gross margins, and high retention, right? So like, do you also kind of look at that? Like, is consumer appliances, I'm assuming, would be like a low retention?
Correct. So every unit needs to be profitable. For us, it's not building lifetime value. While we have tremendous repeat buy, we just heard from a studio guy that he had 2 products in his home. So
what a testament.
So we see a lot of repeat buy, but that's not what we build. We don't build for CAC and lifetime value. In the business we are in, we are not in a consumables business. So every unit needs to be profitable, which means that a certain gross margin, you need to get in at a certain gross margin level. Now, after doing this for 6-7 years, we know what our CS costs are, we know what our shipping costs are, we know what our marketing costs are. So going in, you need to be at a certain gross margin level. And I think it's very important. Unless somebody is building a business where you can extract lifetime value. It makes sense to burn money. If there isn't, I don't think it's very smart in today's environment to burn money to say मैं बाद में premiumize कर लूँगा. Like those are difficult things to do. Again, nothing is impossible in business, but those are just difficult things to do. कि मैं थोड़ी देर loss में बेचता हूँ, बाद में मैं price बढ़ा लूँगा.
It can work the other way around.
Correct.
But like you can't increase price on a product.
होता नहीं है, easily होता नहीं है. So and once you actually start selling to an audience large enough, then it becomes harder every day. So like my recommendation to anybody doing this new would be have a fair gross margin profile. Like you can't have a crazy premium profile unless it's a premium product, and those categories are different. But if you are in a relatively commoditized category, make sure that you have enough gross margin because you will never get it back.
Interesting. Would love to understand a little bit about your current scale, right? Like, like your revenue, number of customers, households you reach out to, what are the channels that you sell through, and essentially, like, maybe like in terms of certain categories that you are in, like, what are your top categories today?
Cool. So we're in over 1 crore households.
Wow. Yeah.
We have about 12% customers buying multiple products every year. As the base grows, that continues to scale.
And is that like a metric that you look at while you're launching new categories as well?
Not really. It's an output metric rather than an input metric. We like it when it grows, but it's not something it's not something we optimize for. It's not something we control. You obviously cross sell a little bit and do the basics, but it's not something we really optimize for. But what's important is that we get to, so we're in 1 crore households. Our next target is to get to the 5 crore number.
Wow.
That's a target we track very, very closely. The idea is to continue to be ideally EBITDA profitable, but at least every new category needs to deliver contribution to the business. From a scale perspective, we're in the ballpark of about over 500 crores and continue to grow strongly, continue to grow every year.
Yeah.
From a mix perspective, we are marketplace heavy. Obviously, partners like Amazon and Flipkart have been fantastic for us. I'll tell you why we are marketplace heavy also. We are in generally commoditized categories. Platforms have what I call free traffic, right? You have to, what we do is we optimize for every CTR and conversion metric and not bother about traffic. किसी को अगर मिक्सर ग्राइंडर या ट्रेडमिल या साइकिल खरीदनी है, वो हाई इंटेंट टू बाय ऑलरेडी प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ रहा है. आई वुड rather spend the money and energy and optimization to make sure he buys lifelong rather than generating traffic on
the marketplace,
on social media and try and deliver to that. So
interesting.
A lot performance marketing for us is bottom of the funnel on the platform, making sure it's getting conversion rather than driving traffic. We don't drive, I shouldn't say this, but we don't drive any relevant traffic at least. All of our energy goes into making sure that we make the best product.
Yeah.
It has the best comparable features against competition. We make sure we communicate that in the best possible way to make the purchase decision much easier. It's priced at a point where the Indian customer that we're targeting is comfortable paying for it. And we throw in kick-ass service after that so that things will go bad once in a while for any brand. We make sure that we are there in 24 to 48 hours depending on where you live, and we service that product, replace that product, whatever we have to do to make sure the customer is happy. And that's really, what we try and build.
Very interesting, very interesting. Optimizing for conversion, optimizing for a great product, अच्छे price point पे, and then optimizing for good
service.
Yeah. Amazing. And like, are these the traits of a Bharat consumer as well, right? Like 1 crore households, and like with a target to go to 5 crore households today, right? In the next few years, like I would feel that consumer appliances as a category is a space of what touch and feel space, right? Like you'd want to, like, it's high AOV space, so people would buy something at an occasion like a Diwali or a special occasion, right? They would want to talk to 100 people, they would want references, they would want to try the product, right? So like when you're selling to a Bharat consumer, like what are some traits that you've noticed?
So it's very interesting. This is also an input to our category selection. So we love categories जहाँ पे ना retailer was the influencer in the old world.
Interesting.
As much as it was touch feel, people used to go to the store because वो पूछते थे भैया कौन सा अच्छा product है. And retailer used to say इसमें complaint आ रहा है, इसमें warranty नहीं मिलेगा, ये ले जाओ मैं बैठा हूँ ना यहाँ पे. And
मतलब retailer ही खरीद रहा है आपके लिए in a way, right? Retailer is making a decision.
I know very high percentage of sale, like upwards of like 70-80%. Like if you are buying your phone, you know what you want, maybe your television also. But for everything, what we called internally non-involved categories, retailer was making the decision. या retailer है या फिर वहाँ brand का promoter है, वो कह रहा है ये brand अच्छा नहीं है, ये अच्छा है, इसमें warranty नहीं मिलेगा, इसमें तो बहुत आजकल recently complaint आ रहा है, and you will think यार इसमें complaint आ रहा है, how will I buy this?
Yeah.
What that has changed to now very loosely user-generated content. Now you go online, there is no retailer to influence you.
Yeah.
So it's our job to make sure we create clear, transparent comparison between brands. we make sure that we put it in front of the customer on why either we are better or we have features that the other person doesn't have. What is our hook edge to be able to make that sale, and do it transparently. And on top of that, make sure there is enough content to solidify your claim. And it starts with as basic as ratings and reviews, but then what you do on YouTube, what you do on social, like customers will spend time, and you know, for some of our products, the customers hit our pages 7 times before making the purchase.
Wow.
People have time.
Yeah.
And
they're doing that research because it's an expensive purchase for them as well.
Also, you save them a lot of time to going to the mall or going to the store, right? And generally, people will look for a good deal. People will look for coupons. People will look for everything before making a purchase. They will spend time comparing. Sometimes you get calls to our customer care. People share an Excel with tabs of various products to say, ये सब तो मुझे समझ आ गया, पर एक ये point missing है for a 1200 rupee purchase.
Wow.
And that's just the nature of the customer, and our job is to make sure that कि हम वो journey आसान करें.
Got
so
it.
that's
Got
what
it.
we do.
So basically, in a way, like you're looking at categories जो retailer recommendation heavy थी, उसको now you're trying to disrupt through D2C, better listings, more content.
वो retailer की replacement content है. Starting at review ratings upwards to any other user generated content. That trust needs to come from partly the brand, partly what people see online.
Right. I think you know, very interesting. And you know, like in categories like these, like how do you then also define product market fit, right? Like basically like you mentioned that a user would be kind of visiting your page 7 times, would be calling your customer care before, you know, making a purchase, right? So like how do you define product market fit? Is it like based on a certain conversion rate of a customer, or is it like X percentage of marketing spend eventually led to the purchase?
इसका एकदम देसी आंसर है that customers, you get into a positive compounding flywheel. Customers continue to buy a product without you doing any special crazy marketing on it. इसका more scientific answer है that if we start converting better than either category averages or large brands, if Lifelong is converting better than Philips, there is definitely product market fit. But even before you get there, you will realize that without actually giving extra discounts, driving extra traffic, if your customers continue to buy you, organic sale, which continues to increase, even if it continues to increase slowly, is decent enough proof for product market fit.
Interesting. So growth in organic sales is one
most
metric.
Important.
Yeah.
And then now for us at our scale, we defined a bunch of other metrics also. Customer love or just rating reviews is extremely important. People need to buy the product for the innovation, change, feature add-on that we've done. We need to convert better than category averages. We need to convert better than other brands. And you then start tracking level 2 metrics, right? For example, review velocity is a very interesting metric we track. Right?
What is that? What does that mean?
If I am getting more reviews per month than you are, I will always have unfair advantage over you because I will keep going away and away and away. Like momentum will carry me away. And so these are level 2 metrics that, you know, young brands should track so that these collection of these inputs will lead to a better output. So
Got it. I think you know, when we were building Zoe as well, like we were at a peak, we would do about 50 crore revenue with a 15 crore EBITDA, right? And we were completely our website heavy, like D2C heavy, right? We never were able to scale on marketplaces. But at least our theory was, अगर हम ये 3R approach जो है, like review, rating, ranking, इसको हम crack कर सकते हैं, then it's essentially like you're solving for the demand of your product, and you know, like you'll start, I mean, like you have that unfair advantage. So like is that something that you also look at in terms of review velocity? Like do you like, I mean, like do you have some growth hacks to influence that, या फिर वो organically ही होता है?
So holy grail hai. Obviously, first of all, 15% EBITDA on a D2C on your own website EBITDA is fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is rare in 2024.
Yeah.
But coming back to, obviously, rating reviews are the holy grail of selling on the platforms. This is actually a product market fit. If you continue to get 4+ star reviews, if you really have strong product market fit, your review velocity will anyway be better than competition. Now people will try and hack these things. I think the platforms are too strong now for easy hacks. And you open YouTube, you'll see all of these Amazon.com in the US and people who who will try and hack the review mechanism on these platforms. I don't think, at least for us, I don't think we can spend time, money, energy fighting Amazon, right? That's their job to make sure that fakes go away. All of this not allowed stuff goes away. And so we don't really spend time trying to hack any of that. I think if you genuinely have great product, great price, it's converting better than competition, your review velocity will become an output metric rather than an input metric. Why we really like to track it is that if somebody else disrupts you and you see other people spiking review velocities, you know that somebody else has created a fantastic product market fit or a better value proposition.
So use it as an output metric in terms of understanding PMF and comparing brands.
What's happening in the market.
Yeah. Versus trying to influence it.
You can't really, again, people will do it at a very chota scale, but you can't really materially influence it.
Yeah. Insane. I think, like I know that you don't like this number, like when I talk about 500 crore revenue and all that, right? But essentially you mentioned that you're marketplace heavy, right? So like even like doing like 30-40 crore a month on marketplaces, right? So what are some hacks that founders can today look at to scale, right? Because I speak to a lot of founders on a day-to-day basis, right? People have cracked performance marketing, they've gone to 2, 3, 4, 5 crore revenue, right? And now like marketplace is the next layer for them, right? If they're able to compete in a fair marketplace, then they can maybe then look at going offline as well, right? So like what are 4 to 5 things that, and I think you answered it in parts, right? But 4 to 5 things that founders should definitely do, in order to scale in marketplaces.
And try and create a checklist live. Make sure you have very strong product market fit before you go, because it's very easy to burn a ton of money on marketplaces. So make sure that your product is spot on. Make sure that you can create the best. And these are easy to say things, but when you get down to actually doing them, there is science behind all of them. So I was going to say make the best listing, but once you really go into it, there are pieces that are different in each category. If it's a very user product that you use on your body, for example, you need to make sure that you have all the certificates and you make the customer feel safe. If it's an electronics product, you make sure it's objectively defining every parameter against competition. Make sure your SEO is spot on. Make sure it's evolving.
And marketplace SEO.
Marketplace SEO, right? You still need to win search position on the page. So that's the listing part. Then the performance marketing, I think a lot of people say they've cracked it. I think you've cracked performance marketing when it's plateaued and starts to reduce and you have organic rank. You can burn a ton of money, gain page rank. It's important initially. Nobody is going to find you on page 5. But I think the real test is, can you switch it off? And if you continue to hold page rank, then you are in that positive compounding flywheel. Otherwise, you're always buying page rank and it's not a great place to be.
So basically with the same spend, is your organic traffic, organic conversions increasing?
Correct. And it's also, again, a momentum-driven business, right? So once that starts happening, once you're selling more, you're getting more reviews. Your CTRs are better, your conversions are better. And then Amazon is both Flipkart and Amazon are very customer-backward platforms, right? If you're doing well, you will be on page 1. So which is why it's hard to crack page 1. But once you do, then that's your real product market fit. And then on the back of it, go back to how a desi product company would work. Make sure you service your customer perfectly, like as well as you can do it. It's not that ek baar bech diya to maine bech diya, right? Make sure that products will have issues over their life cycle. Make sure that if you're a product, you sell a product that requires service, make sure you do it in 24 hours, 48 hours. If your
maybe it requires installation.
Correct. Make sure your installation, you have all of the tools and widgets added on your installation. Ideally, if your guy can reach at the time of delivery, nothing like it.
And maybe like AquaGuard as a company is like such a great example of an amazing service and installation network.
Correct. So you need to get all of these places right. Platforms are distribution platforms. Treat them like distribution platforms. You still need to, own your customer, own your product, own your service. They will get you sasta traffic. Use them for sasta traffic. I think we sometimes think that just hacking platforms is a business. maybe it was at a certain point, but not anymore, right? If you need to create a scale business, you need to own the product and the customer journey, and the same journey will replicate itself over modern trade, eventually over offline. While I am no expert on offline, but eventually offline as well. Like for example, we've just started selling on modern trade, and we are seeing the same flywheel. Again, we're using it as distribution, but we're making sure that our customer journeys, our price points to the customer, our product to the customer, our service to the customer, like those basics are in place.
Correct.
And then we use the new distribution channel as a channel.
Got it. And I think just one last closing points on a marketplace, right? So whenever a new brand is looking at, building a team for their marketplace, like what are 4 to 5 things, like in terms of hires, like where should they look at hiring, or like what are some of the things they should focus on? Like should they have a great content writer, like who's writing great copy? Should they know somebody who's doing great ads on Amazon, right? Like what are some of the, like how should an ideal team for a startup look like for a marketplace?
I'll tell you the most non-glamorous answer to that. At least for
yourself.
really early stage startups,
Yeah.
do it yourself. Once you do it on your own, nobody can be expert across this.
Yeah.
You will know what you're good at. You will know what is more important for your product.
Yeah.
For high technology product, content writers become super important sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
you need to invest in that.
Yeah.
But unless either you do it on your own or you watch it happen very closely, and I'm talking about very early stage products.
Yeah.
If you do it on your own, then you know why your product sells. You know what skill you need to build in the organization. And now in 2024, Amazon, Flipkart have existed now 10 years almost. You will get talent. Like this talent used to be short early on, but now I think if you need to find somebody who's run a seller central expertly, you'll find that. If you in e-commerce supply chain, if you want to find somebody, if you find somebody who runs the warehouse, who ships 5,000 orders a day, I don't think that's hard to find today. But to know what is critical for your business, I don't think the same answer goes across beauty and fashion and electronics, right? So you need to know what is important for your business, what is it that makes you tick. I'll give you example for us, right? We are trying to set up a marketplace warehouse inside our factory so that we can turn inventory from the assembly line into the customer in 20 something days.
Oh, interesting.
Now it saves a ton of supply chain costs. For us, we are more a supply chain company than anything else. It's super critical to what we do. Now we will put the best talent we can on something like that. So it's important to over invest in your leverage rather than just saying यार उनकी marketing बहुत अच्छी है, वहाँ से marketing का बंदा ले आते हैं, इनकी supply chain अच्छी है, supply chain का बंदा ले आते हैं.
Got it. And you mentioned about now going on modern trade as well, right? So how different is demand generation on modern trade versus like a marketplace?
I'm no expert, Karan. We've started about 10% of our revenue comes from there. What I've learned is that the dynamics aren't all that different. It's still, so if you look at it, if you look at modern trade in a digital format, it's people come in with high intent to buy.
Yeah.
You still need to make sure that they convert to lifelong than anything else.
Yeah.
Like those are the first principles
Yeah.
I look at modern trade with.
Yeah.
Okay, now your inputs become different. For
Correct.
e-commerce, your input is: are you in stock? Are you on Prime? Are your delivery timelines great? Are you on first page? If you take that to modern trade, are you displayed well? Are you comparing well as a product market fit? You send 10 customers and you ask them on this rack, what will you buy? You'll get your answer mota from there to say यार कि कोई मेरा product नहीं देख रहा, तो there is either no product market fit basis comparison on this rack, or it's not displayed well, or it's not communicating well. So you try and then understand the inputs of why somebody is picking something on the modern trade shelf and solve for those.
And what's the best, like, is it like in-store branding, or is it like having a promoter, like is it both?
कोई single answer नहीं है. हर modern trade is working very differently. Like our team was at DMart this morning.
Wow.
And you can't put I don't think promoters change the answer there, but super sharp product market fit works wonderfully well. And for another store, you probably can't sell if you don't have a promoter, because if all of the other brands have promoters, then they are not letting anybody focus on your brand. And going back to my retailer example. If somebody else is making the decision and you don't have a guy there, then nobody's making the decision in your favor.
Yeah.
So you have to play the game. And like I said, you have to treat every channel as a distribution channel. You have to understand what it takes to win that channel, and then go deeper and solve for those inputs rather than trying to create a macro strategy के मेरा modern trade का framework ये है. ऐसे at least for younger companies ऐसे नहीं चलता. Apple can run how they run, but not for us.
Yeah. And like when you mentioned ki like you want to go from 1 crore to 5 crore households, right? Like you're doing well on marketplace, now you're going on modern trade, right? So like are you also looking at your own stores as an option, right? Like because like we were just talking about like Decathlon, if we take an example of Decathlon, right? Like 4,000 crore revenue, 100 plus large stores, like more than Nike, Adidas, Asics combined, right? And they really pioneered the try before you buy kind of thing, right? Like in categories like sports, like tennis, badminton, you can try rackets, you can try a cycle, like there's massive space, like it's very comfortable, nobody's pushing you, right? And then essentially when you get comfortable, good price point, affordable, and then good product, and then you buy the product, right? So and now Lifelong is almost like a house of brands across multiple categories, right? So like if you were to look at like you've always started with modern trade, like, but like would your first focus be कि modern trade grow करें, या eventually like would we see Lifelong के stores in a Decathlon type format, and that's like something that you would look to grow?
So we are by DNA try before you buy. In every new business line, business model that we do, we are actually trying everything. And in every decision in business, you have to find your product market fit. The product market fit obviously was there on platforms. It was relatively there on doing direct D2C. Modern trade is going really well. I don't think we have fantastic product market fit in pure play distribution today.
Why is that?
Because we are digital first. Retail knows us really well. You go to a retailer, online ka brand ho aap, right? So you have to work to debunk that to some extent before he will warm up to you, right? Because he's had customers over the last 5 years walk in and say, यार देखो online तो Lifelong मिलता है, यहाँ पे ऐसा product नहीं है. So he's had unhappy customers because of you in your lifetime. So you need to solve for that. And so we don't have natural product market fit. But there's no point saying, yeah, now we are this size, I can go create distribution tomorrow. You have to start at some place, find your product market fit, and then once you find it, go crazy and scale as much as you can on that. To own stores, I think our selection now is broad enough to give people a lot of what they need for their everyday lives in their homes. Does that mean we have a right to play in an own store space? Like say a Decathlon. Will we win? We won't win? We'll only know once we start testing. And we will probably test various markets, various formats to see कि कहाँ चल रहा है. And then once you find your answer, then you go all out and scale.
Very, very interesting. So I think we'll be excited to see some Lifelong stores in the in the future. Great. I think I would love to pick your brains on the manufacturing and supply chain thing as well, because you mentioned that we are a supply chain company more than anything, right? So like currently, do you manufacture your own products? You get them manufactured? How do you control your IPs? And like you mentioned that you're such a customer backward company, right? Like you would you scrape data, you will get feedback, then you will try and work on those points, right? So like how does that work out? Like when you're looking at manufacturing and at scale.
So we have a very interesting manufacturing model. While I can loosely say that we are backward integrated on a lot of products, we are technically not. So we have factories in India that only make Lifelong products. They use our tech. We control what gets made. We control how it's done, the process, the raw material, everything. But we don't own the asset. So it's asset-light manufacturing, if I can call it that. It sounds funny, but it's really worked for us.
Manufacturing as a service, maybe like.
Correct, and we can run the factory, and it's not through a fancy tech arrangement, right? It's people who wanted to get into business.
Yeah.
So हम factory लगा देंगे, आप full utilization is yours, कि आप चला सकते हो.
But day one पे भी वैसे ही था.
नहीं था, which is where Atul's expertise helped to have the early arrangements done. Day one वैसे नहीं था, but once, like I said, once you figure out your product market fit. Ours was going deeper in product. We realized that this was leverage for us. And so we very quickly started doing this. And,
Yeah.
you know, we are setting up an induction cooktop line as we speak today.
Wow.
We are wanting to do a similar arrangement in China. The other thing we do is that for these guys then become genuine partners. A lot of times I say कि ये हमारे first investors हैं because they put in capital in a factory that made lifelong products.
Yeah.
So before we raised institutional capital, these guys were our
Amazing.
first investor, and we treat them like that. And we
Yeah.
treat them like our partners. We opened a new office. Those guys were there at the office opening. That they are part of the family. They are part of lifelong. So that's how we treat them. So manufacturing becomes extremely important for multiple reasons. You control product, you control quality, you control your next gen variations over time. You're not dependent on somebody else innovating on that product. Then you start innovating on supply chain from there. Like I said, if I can open an Amazon warehouse on the first floor of the factory, and then I can ship product manufacturing to customer in 20 something days, it's lower capital cost, it's lower warehousing, it's just leaner for everybody across. And so the more you can control on your supply chain, it's obviously better. Now, I think easier said than done because it's still doable in our categories. That's not, I don't know how other categories work. So I don't know how fashion works or beauty works and if it's possible or no. But it's really worked for us in our categories.
Got it. So, you know, like from a supply chain perspective, right? Abhi, like say if you be on Prime and have to do same day delivery, right? So, currently at least like if till it's not being shipped directly from the manufacturer till to the customer, right? Till that is implemented, it still requires you to be sitting on a lot of inventory risk, like because the more warehouses the product is in, right? I mean, like there's always the capital is invested there, right? So how do you kind of look at that, right? Like how much to place in certain warehouses, and how much capital to deploy, in that?
Couple of pieces there, Karan. My general advice is to try and be as lean as possible. It's the most obvious thing to say, but it's the hardest thing to do. Excess inventory can kill a D2C digital brand really quickly before you realize, right? And I made the same mistakes, right? You keep looking at your P&L without having a super sharp focus on your balance sheet sometimes because there will be obsolete inventory over time.
Yeah.
How sharp are you about that? How sharp are you about reboxing? How sharp are you about refurbishment? If you're on top of your inventory, you will extend your lifeline and significantly longer, which means you're giving yourself that much longer to find your ideal product market fit. So it's the most non-glamorous, most essential part of any brand D2C product business. My advice to absolute new companies is invest in a good technology. If you are tech background, you want to build something of your own, please go ahead. Otherwise, please use a market existing ERP.
Oh, I think so. You would say that that's important, like to be tracking your
100%. If you don't know your product level margins, you will never take the right decisions. You can't. You can't. At least I couldn't. I think it's impossible to run it in Excel sheets and Google Docs. So it
gives you like one single view of the company.
Correct. And eventually you can take smarter decisions with data. And now answering if you don't know your region level demand, how do you forecast inventory?
Right.
If you don't have technology on those basic things, like what we are doing right now is that we're trying to integrate the factories with this. So if anything sells on the platform, it gets recorded at the factory. And so your system will generate your POs and your MRs. And so try and automate that really quickly. We didn't do it very quickly. And we learned it the hard way. And now suddenly once we've done that, we run significantly more smoothly. So I think good to learn from other people's mistakes a little bit as well. But I think I would recommend that. Like that is an early investment I would do for sure.
And like currently, like how many products and SKUs would you have right now?
30 something will make up Pareto's principle. 30 something will make up most of the revenue. How much have we tried, experimented over the years? Hundreds.
Wow.
And we are not a success rate company. And I say finding product market fit is hard.
Huh.
But if you find it, you go all out and
Yeah,
then
yeah. So maybe out of 100 products, 30 have really succeeded, right?
hundreds, I'm saying.
Yeah,
A few
yeah,
hundred, so
yeah,
not hundred.
yeah. So maybe like it's like a 10%, 15% success
Correct,
rate. Like,
but our process is very strong, Karan, behind
and what
it.
is that? Like, I would love to understand. Like, once let's say somebody does some you do some research on कि अच्छा इस category में ये product करना है, ये pain point है.
Yeah.
तो वहाँ से like how long does it take to? For
अगर
the
मैं एकदम सिंप्लीफाई करूँ,
हम्म.
10 यूनिट बना लो और अपने फ्रेंड एंड फैमिली को भेजो. उसके बाद 100 यूनिट बनाओ और अपने एग्जिस्टिंग कस्टमर्स को भेजो. लाइक दोज टू हर्डल्स विल किल 50% ऑफ योर मिस्टेक्स. डोंट get too married with your product to say यार बन गया अब तो मैं 2 लाख यूनिट बेच दूंगा. It doesn't work like that in real life. And India is such a complex country that every customer cohort is different. People in urban versus tier 1 versus tier 2 will buy differently. People across economic classes will buy differently.
Correct.
Test before you build inventory. You'll probably slightly slower than everybody else. That's okay. But you will not kill yourself in the process. So we do so much testing that that's encouraged at Lifelong. You can go test any product you want, but before you take a green light go decision, you need to have a thesis document like an early stage VC would look at an IC document. That's how we look at a thesis document to say यार कि सारे check mark हो रहे हैं. Only then will you say कि okay, now I can start running this at scale or building inventory on it.
Very interesting.
And very high bar for that. And it needs to be because across multi subcategories everybody takes blind decisions. We will kill ourselves in a year.
Yeah. And I'm guessing like there would be like a dedicated category management team across
how we are structured. Again, I don't know, this is just how we did it. मेरे पास कोई manual नहीं थी शुरू में. We are structured as every category is a full P&L. Our category managers are responsible for literally everything, delivering a contribution margin. And marketing, finance, tech, everything runs as a horizontal that caters into these categories. So we have 10 entrepreneurs in office that run their own categories.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So basically they would decide the contribution margin, they would look at the pricing, and then they would work with the manufacturing team to say if the product can be built in that kind of a price point with that kind of features. Correct. That will be like horizontal. And
that will be horizontal, but they will take full ownership of
correct
of the process.
Interesting. I mean, I would also, would love to get your thoughts on the whole Make in India push, right? Like, we've seen like large consumer appliances brands, consumer electronics brands now growing, both 3,500 crore revenue, 70% of their products made in house.
Much bigger, huh?
Yeah, much bigger now actually, right? Noise, I think 1,500 crore. Atomberg would be 650 crore, right? So, and like you obviously get a lot of manufacturing done in India. Right. So would you does India have the technological capabilities to manufacture at scale to compete with the likes of China, like technological capabilities and maybe like the human capital as well?
मेरे पे ग्रेड का क्वेश्चन है नहीं, but I will try and answer. See, it works really well for us in the kind of business we're in. We are a multi-category, multi-product business where lean supply chains are fantastic to have. So in our context, it works really well. The second context that Lifelong has is that we are not high technology. So we're not building televisions or phones. In our categories, the Indian manufacturing ecosystem is well built. It's robust. You can leverage it. There are traditional manufacturers like Dixon's. There are Jetwork-like companies that are new age in this, but this ecosystem is well built. I still like China in a way that China has unique qualities where the scale of the factories and the scale at which you could produce very quickly is insane. A lot of experimentation, molds, stuff like that, 3D printing facilities, stuff like that, China is still strong. But I see no reason why India will not build those capabilities out. Now you need to ask this question of a much larger manufacturer to know that if we can replicate the China plus one or replicate the China manufacturing story. But for our scale, for our categories, I think India's good. India's very strong.
Got it. And I mean, like, do you also plan to sell internationally and go international as well? Like, considering the unique price points and now the insights that you've like, if you've cracked a value conscious customer, right, like, and built a product for them, like, maybe like if you go international maybe you can charge a higher price and essentially still have that lean setup in terms of manufacturing.
Day zero se PMF ढूंढना पड़ेगा. Again, theoretically, obviously, you can do all of what you said.
Yeah.
will I put capital and people in more categories, in more geography, opening more customers in India any day before looking at any international geography? At the end of the day, it becomes a capital allocation question.
Yeah.
If your return on investment in what you know how to do, and at a larger level, there is broad market fit at lifelong.
Right.
In India, I would rather do that any day than going
Hmm.
international in search of something new. Now, again, at a different scale,
Hmm.
sometime 3 years down the line, if we look at this differently, maybe we do. But right now, I think there's too much low-hanging fruit in India.
Yeah, yeah. And as you grow from that 1 crore to 5 crore household, like what are going to be your top categories and channels going forward? Like, is it still going to be marketplace heavy as you scale to 5x thing?
So marketplaces will be important. Marketplaces also are broad market fit playbook is very well defined for marketplaces. So they will always be large. I think offline will play a significant role as we go 5x from here. So actually continue. Very theoretical answer is grow category, grow channels, do both. But if you really, like something's really working, customers are loving you in a certain category. For example, for us, sports is really growing well right now.
And what products in sports?
So across the board, actually, we're bestsellers on treadmills, cycles, accessories, gym equipment, and we have a celebrity who really gels with
Milind Soman, right?
Milind Soman really gels with our ethos on our logo. There is fight lazy.
Yeah.
Like we encourage people to just get up and do something for their health every day.
Yeah.
A lot of our kitchen products are actually catering to, like the air fryer, catering to the healthier audience. So the audience is understanding the message behind it. We are putting a lot more focus on this as we go along, and I think we are creating a strong community of people who eat healthy, live healthy, and that's again great for India that we are getting on that knowledge curve very quickly and evolving like that.
I think Tim Cook also said in his recent interview, he was asked like, what is Apple? And he said Apple is a health company, right? So essentially, again, very, very strong tailwinds, there in terms of like people going towards health and wellness, adopting a lot of these products.
Yeah, Tim Cook and I are giving the same answer.
One thing, like on your marketing, right? Like you have Milind Soman as a brand ambassador for your sports brand, and then like you would have somebody like a Vinay Pathak who's doing like your lounge chairs and all, right? And I, like interestingly, you mentioned that हम लोग top of the funnel ज़्यादा नहीं करते, right? Like it's all for conversion and all. But then you've still a lot of brands would invest at top of the funnel to build trust, right? And like I was talking to my dad, and I was saying that I'm meeting the founder of Lifelong. I was saying, हाँ वो तो बहुत पुरानी कंपनी है, like कितने सालों पुरानी कंपनी है, right? And then I was talking to my wife. She said, हाँ, like I've been using their treadmills for ages, right? Like we were talking here in the studio, like so many people use the product. So somehow you've been able to build that brand and trust very, very well, right? So like, what is your marketing and brand playbook, considering that you also said that हम ज़्यादा spend नहीं करते on top of the funnel?
I will take that compliment, Karan. It's a special one because most people I meet and most investors I meet say, यार तुमने branding पे कुछ अभी तक crack नहीं किया था.
Yeah, but actually you talk to the customer, right? Like customer saying something else.
So actually different answers. The brand, the Atul old experience in appliances helps. Treadmills are all of 3 years old.
Yeah.
What we've done, I'll answer the Vinay Pathak, Milind Soman question first. I think what we've done is our brand ambassadors are, while they are celebrities, they're as much as influencers in the category. Like this is Milind's lifestyle. Like if he wasn't a brand ambassador for Lifelong, he would still be on Instagram telling people
he's not doing something different.
Correct.
Like,
And this audience today, and you know that better than anybody, that like if you are genuine, authentic in front of your audience, they will automatically start understanding and gelling with the message. You can force fit a message. I haven't found the way to make viral videos and force fit messages, right? So if you are authentic, if you are who you are, if people see you for who you are, then that following, like they will trust you far more than and that's what we've tried to do. Again, I think we are far from, like there are fantastic examples in D2C in Boat or Mamas in the country who've done much better than we haven't even scratched the surface on that. So.
And as you scale categories and build more brands, right? Like it's almost like a house of brands, like you mentioned Fight Lazy, like your watch. I think like every category is an independent brand, right? So
they're all Lifelong. We do sub brands some places where we're talking to a very different TG, but it's all Lifelong. Like eventually we're building trust and reliability around Lifelong, and want to be present across distribution channels. If you walk into a modern trade outlet or go on Amazon looking for a treadmill or a weighing scale or a mixer grinder and you find Lifelong, like that
trust and credibility.
Trust credibility makes us convert better. Say Lifelong में यहाँ पे फिर कोई tension नहीं है. Like that's what we strive to do rather than trying to be a mixer grinder का brand or a treadmill का brand.
Got it. And as you scale categories, like would you also look at inorganic acquisitions, or like would you like continue following this playbook and continuing doing products in house?
So continue follow this playbook. Inorganic to buy revenue, no. If there is opportunistically something available where from a factory perspective, from a supply chain perspective, something really gels with us.
Yeah.
We, in fact, it did evaluate something very recently. We didn't close, but we did evaluate something recently. From that perspective, yes. But will we go out and buy other brands? That is not happening right now.
Got it. I think one thing would love to talk about is like the investment from Thrassio, right? So like generally you guys don't do a lot of PR, right? Like I mean like brands doing 500 crore revenue, like you'll hear them everywhere, like founders doing a lot of podcasts like these and like being all over the media, but like generally like it's a like Lifelong as a company is a very under the radar company focusing on the customer and all, right? But when Thrassio happened, right, like you could see a lot of articles, Thrassio doing like a $500 million investment in India over the next few years, right? And then this also kind of started the whole wave of roll-up commerce in the country. Multiple brands started, and the whole thesis was ki if you can acquire brands in unbranded categories, make them more efficient, you can build large businesses.
Yeah.
And somehow that has now changed over the next couple of years. Thrassio exited, right? And what was, I think, very inspiring, like I would say, like as an early stage founder, ki jab Thrassio ne exit kiya, so you guys actually went back and acquired more of your company and strengthened your position, and not just the founders, even your existing investors, right?
Correct.
So, what's your view on that? Like, would love to hear a little bit more.
So I'll start with an interesting story on how Thrassio happened.
Yeah.
So we were raising a Series B here. We were in the process, and kudos to that investor. When we dropped out, we were, they took it well. But it was a very interesting story. This whole Amazon acquirer roll-up wave had started. And there was some FOMO inside of me that, we were building one category after another brand, and here was a chance to go acquire everybody you see and create a $1 billion revenue business very, very quickly, right?
Correct.
And we also had fair bit of confidence on scaling marketplace finance, scaling D2C in India. We had 15, 17 bestsellers on Amazon at that point. So one late evening actually, and it goes back to my first answer, you keep trying and something will work out. I opened LinkedIn, wrote to the founder of Thrassio, cold to say that yaar, आपको acquire करना आता है, हमें चलाना आता है, this will create a good partnership. Like it was as simple a message as that, right?
Yeah.
And great of him, and they were, I don't know how many $1 billion at that point, great of him, he was on a holiday, on a hike, he got on a call right away.
Wow.
He said, are you serious of what you're saying? I said, yes.
So they knew Lifelong,
I don't know if they knew us that well. Like you said, we've been relatively under the radar.
Yeah.
And he said that if this is what you've built, then we can come and acquire and let's create this partnership. And in true Thrassio style, we had a term sheet in 48 hours and
wow.
and we had a deal done really quickly. And it was I have to give credit to our existing investors. We had Tanglin Venture Partners and Hero on the cap table then. They were extremely supportive of the transaction on what we did, and they backed us on that decision. We actually end up selling majority to Thrassio at that point. While we continue to run the business independently, we did sell. And like you said, 15 months out, actually very quickly, multiple things happened. We realized that the roll-up space for India was sort of early. The brands that were being acquired didn't have that level of defensibility in them. And in true spirit, we went back to Thrassio to say, I don't think we did the right thing. While you invested a lot of money, you still will pour in a lot more money. Let's save on that. We are very confident on what we are building at Lifelong. Our existing investors are, all three of us are. And we will buy back. And we are now back in the saddle, back as majority and running the company. So.
That's really amazing. And do you think like the roll-up commerce space in the country, like, is that still like a large opportunity? I mean, like on the face of it, the idea is interesting, right? Like you take a lot of brands
Yeah.
in unbranded categories, you run them efficiently. Uh, but as you said, like then there's a lot more work that needs to be done on the brand defensibility side.
Yeah.
And maybe Thrasio did that work in the US. Like they would take a
Much
brand, they would
later.
actually make like do complete makeover of the brand, like fresh branding, fresh photography, with the same strengths of marketplace and all, and then they would help them scale. But maybe in India, like the brands were just being acquired for revenue and not really work on the brand side of things.
So this is the best example, Karan, of what can be done theoretically versus practically. If you look at a pitch deck or an Excel sheet on what you can do to a small brand, what you can do both from a performance perspective and from a financial engineering perspective on you get so much arbitrage in where you acquire versus how you get valued, that it makes fantastic sense.
Yeah.
But to do that practically is hard, and I still think somebody will do it. And there are fantastic companies in India who've gotten funded and are doing this, and I hope one or more of them get it right. But it's a hard business. The small brands are run by proprietors, are individuals who are married,
they put their heart and soul into that.
Correct. And you look at your page every day and you optimize for a small thing, then you
Correct.
know your competitors by name, and you know they can tell you how many units you'll sell at each price point without any looking at an Excel sheet. Like that's how close they are to that data, right? And now to build a system to run that at scale is hard. Also the financial aspect of it on cost of capital in India is different than the US. So a lot of pieces need to come together. Like I said, in a theoretical sense, it's obviously a business, which is why so much capital came in, but it's a hard business to execute.
Got it. I think Bharat, truly inspiring, amazing chat. We have this very interesting thing on the podcast where we ask founders some personal questions as well, just to know the person a little better, right?
Let's do this.
So there's going to be like a rapid fire, like you don't know the questions, right? I'm just going to ask you, and you just answer with like whatever the first thing comes to your mind, right? So what do you value in a person, EQ or IQ?
As an organization, we need to have both, for sure. I think I get attracted to IQ first, but you have to have a mix in the company.
Got it. While hiring, do you look at education, work experience, or a person's attitude?
For me, attitude is most important. करने का मन होना चाहिए, करने का will होना चाहिए. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that there are certain leadership positions where you need certain skills, which obviously I don't have or the founding team doesn't have. But for me, the biggest is attitude.
Got it. $1 billion valuation versus running a large profitable business.
Personally, for all three of us, large profitable businesses, if you're running a large profitable business, you will get the $1 billion valuation anyway.
It's an outcome.
Yeah.
Got it. Health versus running your business, what comes first?
If you don't have health, then there is no running your business. So they are not mutually exclusive things. Yeah, you need consciousness and hour for your health. And if there's no health, there's no running the business.
Like, do you generally allocate a little bit of time of your day towards some activities, like just focus on your health?
For sure. Like I run, I work out 3 times a week. I try and eat right. But that's just me. And I think whatever works for whoever, but it's super important, obviously, to take care of your health. This is also, entrepreneurship also gets glamorized in a way that you have to put in
18 hours a day, 20 hours a day.
So you have to put in that time. There is no doubting that. And for some reason, even that has gotten bad press on the 18-20 hours. Like young people, entrepreneurs, everybody is putting, I don't know if it's 18 or 20 or whatever that number is, but you have to put in the long hours.
You are actually putting time, like even if you're not, let's say, sit physically sitting and working, you're actually still mentally thinking about it.
You're always in, right?
Correct. You're always checking your phone, kitne orders aaye, kya hua, kitne
You're
reviews
also dreaming about it.
Yeah,
and
correct.
The first thing, like a lot of times I joke, the first thing I do in the morning is see पिछले दिन की sale, even today, right? That's
same thing that we used to do for Zoe as well, right? Like first thing would say कि कितने दिन का sale हुआ, कितने orders आए, सुबह कितना है, track हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है, कम है, ज़्यादा है.
But that is no excuse to not try and live healthy.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, the more energy you'll have at work, the more 20 hours you can put in.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. What's your idea of a time well spent?
Cliched answer, but actually I really enjoy it, is just time in office doing newer things.
Hmm.
New product, new broad market fit, new business idea. So I really enjoy it, which is, I am also lucky that way, is that like work is not really work for me.
Hmm.
Like I'm a lot of time the first person in office because I just like to be there. So
Hmm. Interesting. One weakness of yours that you feel holds you back.
I think I still micromanage, which is not great. I think I've taken the first step to know that I am not good at it. I think the next step is to, we have a fantastic team, and I think I can let go a lot more. At least I want to.
Got it. You're a super active angel investor, right? Or you're an angel investor, right? You invested in multiple companies, right? What Indian startup would you have loved to be an angel investor in?
Angel invest any of the marquee unicorns today. The returns obviously for all angel investors would have been fantastic. But like as I look forward,
Yeah.
anywhere where I can contribute more than money, if I can contribute some time and change the trajectory in any way, is what I really look forward to. Like that's at least that's what gives me the kick.
So basically, not passive investment, but actually being actively involved in helping the company grow.
I still run lifelong. I don't have the time to do it, but that'll excite me far more than just passively investing.
Got it. One Indian CEO you admire a lot.
Kalyan from Flipkart. I think how Flipkart continues to deliver all of these years in interestingly, in a business that's same as Amazon, but in a business that runs so differently from Amazon,
Yeah.
is fantastic. And I think
How are Flipkart and Amazon different? Like in a few fundamental ways.
so. They are actually both obviously e-commerce companies,
Yeah.
but fundamentally fairly different. It's also somewhat, a lot of people in the US compare how Amazon and Walmart compare. Amazon is a pure tech-based company where selection matters. You can find anything under the sun. Flipkart has a far more retail-first angle to it. While they are also a tech company, they have a far more retail angle to it. Like Flipkart will go deeper on किस price point पे क्या lettering होनी चाहिए. Like they will have far more input on the selection versus not so. They are run more retail first.
Got it.
Amazon is
Got
more
it.
tech first.
One personality trait that has helped you build a large business.
Me. I'm a relatively boring person. I'm actually flat. I don't get super happy nor super sad on most things.
That's such an important skill set to have, right? I mean, like
In hindsight, I've learned that it's held me in good stead. But
yeah. Because as you said, like like in entrepreneurship, 90% of the times you're having failures, right? So like, how do you don't get bogged down with them, and how do you don't get very excited by the success as well, and kind of keep measured?
correct. So in hindsight, that's helped me.
Amazing.
But that's just who I am. I don't think I've developed anything or created that. But I think, generally a boring person.
Got it. Thank you, Bharat. I think it was a super interesting, inspiring chat. Like lots for us to learn. And I think, I mean, I can continue this conversation, for hours. But I'm cognizant of your time as well, right? You're also a mentor at ACLR8, right? And you work with some of our portfolio companies, help them scale, right? We're excited to have you do this session where like brands can scale on marketplace and actually build
Would
large
love to.
consumer brands as well. So, what do you think of Accelerate as an idea, right? Like, how can it contribute? Like, what are your views on just like, helping founders, especially early stage founders, build large brands?
So we were just chatting on this. I think this is a fantastic platform given the rise on entrepreneurship in the country. The set of founders that you have as coaches and mentors and is unbelievably fantastic. And I think young entrepreneurs can learn so much from this group. And like we were saying, they will still make their own mistakes, and that's just the journey.
Yeah.
But if you can help them in the big decisions,
Yeah.
not make them make the big mistakes,
Yeah.
and contribute in that journey, there's nothing like it, right? And I young early stage entrepreneurs always struggle for the network in terms of getting help, getting advise,
Access to capital.
access to capital,
Yeah.
access to knowledge, access to services, right? If you have, a warehousing partner, a shipping partner, right? Just getting through those contracts that take months sometimes.
Correct.
Like you can, give so much energy to early stage companies. With, at scale, you sometimes don't give as much value to these things.
Yeah.
But, you remember when we were 3 people, एक contract करने में
बहुत
3
time
महीने
लगता
लगते
था.
थे.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Getting a GST was a thing
Yeah.
at that point, right?
And it
When
is
you
still
are
a
all
thing
on-
for for early stage
Correct.
founders. Yeah.
So I think just getting them set up quickly so that they can concentrate majority energy on their PMFs is just fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. Also, Bharat, one of our partners for this podcast is a company called Business on What. They are one of the largest WhatsApp commerce companies in India, which helps brands run automated conversational commerce on WhatsApp,
Yeah.
help them acquire more customers, retain more customers, send relevant offers, provide better service. Like you can track your orders, you can chat with the brand in an automated way, right? So generally, like from your POV as well, like what is your view on WhatsApp commerce in the country? Like how can brands utilize it more? And do you think like conversational commerce as a space is going to grow, in the next few years, especially from a D2C brand perspective?
If it really works, it's the largest distribution channel you can have. Everybody is on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Right? And so we use a lot of WhatsApp for customer service. We don't want them to email or phone. If we want to give them the path of least resistance to talk to us.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, it works fantastically. Now, I think more and more customers are getting comfortable buying on WhatsApp as well.
Yeah.
Look at UPI plays a big role.
Yeah.
Just digitization is playing a big role. If this kicks on, this could be our video shopping moment, right? Like if we are all, like India is probably the biggest market on WhatsApp, right?
Correct.
We are all on WhatsApp. We are all comfortable with WhatsApp. We know every feature in and out across income segments, across age groups.
Yeah.
So if we can create a smooth shopping experience on that, then I think the use case is huge.
Yeah.
And if people come, we'll be there as lifelong. So.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Bharat.
Thank you, Karan.
It was a very interesting chat. If you are passionate about building the next big consumer business from India, apply to the Accelerate cohort today. We have great mentors like Bharat who are happy to help you and really help you build a large business. And as we see at Accelerate, it's still day zero for us. So we're super excited to work with you.
Thank you, and best of luck for Accelerate.
Thank you, Bharat.